What's up, guys? What's up? And welcome to another episode of ItsASheThIngTV by me, Dominique. I'm wearing this hat because I just took out my weave and yeah, this bitch ain't ready to be on camera, okay? So I'm gonna keep the hat on. Anyway, let's get into this, alright? Let us get into this. Welcome to the Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 7, Episode 4 review by me, Dominique. This episode wasn't all that, okay? It had its moments, but next week's episode is going to be... yes, because they all come face to face. I'll talk about that later, alright? So let's start off with Todd. He is feeling frustrated, okay? He feels as though Candy's whole team are in limbo right now because so many things are being said, but nothing is being done, okay? You know, they set out so many targets or so many, you know, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? So many goals to do something, and these things never get fulfilled, okay? And I can understand where he's coming from because it really does seem as though Candy's team don't do much, okay? However, we have seen with our own eyes that they do a lot. They do a lot, but they just seem a bit too relaxed, and I understand why that is, okay? Candy acts like she doesn't act like a boss as such. She acts like, you know, a friend, okay? So I feel as though they feel relaxed, but that's not how it's supposed to go, Candy, okay? You rich, girl, but you can keep getting richer, okay? You know, these people need to respect you, baby. I'm not saying they don't respect her, but clearly they don't fear her. But, you know, respect doesn't mean fear. You know what I'm trying to say, okay? Alright, and Candy feels as though, you know, she's paying all these people and ain't shit getting done. But whose fault is that, okay? Because you're the one that hired these people. These people are your friends, okay? So if you feel as though shit isn't getting done, meanwhile you're paying them, then that's for you to open your mouth and say something, okay? Not just because Todd told you to do so. And I'm not saying that Todd is some tyrant and he's, you know, making her do things. No. But, you know, she should have long done this a long time ago. I'm just saying, okay? You are the boss, therefore you should be delegating responsibilities. Is that the right... You know why I'm smart? It's just delegating responsibilities. Does that even sound right? It sounds right in my head. So that's what I mean. Okay, moving on. Claudia. Alright, so look. I like her so far, okay? I like Claudia so far. And you know what? Just because she's friends with Kenya, look, I hate people like this. Just because someone's associated with someone, you know, you instantly dislike them. For what reason? I don't dislike anyone until they give me a reason to dislike them. Hence why I dislike Kenya, but I'll get into that later. Okay, so I don't dislike Claudia. You know, I like her so far. I like her banter. And I'm not sure if you know what that means in America, but that means in England, you know, the wit, you know, the way that she's able to play off and feed off people, you know, the way that she's funny and she's quick with her responses. I like that, okay? So I like Claudia so far, but I really don't feel as though I'm going to like her by the end of this whole season. Something's telling me I'm going to dislike Claudia, okay? I really don't want to, though, okay? Because I like her. Anyway, so Claudia is tired of being judged for the way that she looks. I don't understand what she means by this. How the fuck do you look? Is it because you're biracial? Who gives a shit about that? Who gives a... So what? You biracial and what? You're acting like you look like a vegetable. What? Who's been judging you for what? Anyway, okay, she is working on Ricky Smiley's radio show, alright? And you know, Portia works on the same place, but she's working on the TV part of it. And you know, Claudia says that her and Portia, you know, they were cool, okay? They hung out a few times. And you know, they had a good time together. They laughed, they kikied, everything was good. However, she feels as though Portia is acting weird now. Okay, so she goes over to see Portia and... the scene basically shows Portia ignoring Claudia for the majority of the time, okay? It shows Claudia talking and Portia's acting like she's not interested or she's just getting her makeup done and she's ignoring her. Now, I know for a fact no one in this motherfucking world is going to sit there and ignore someone for no reason, okay? For, like, why would she ignore her? It was Bravo's edited. I'm convinced Bravo edited the fuck out of this scene. Okay, because there's no reason for you to sit there, okay? Yes, you might have problems with someone, but you're not going to sit there and ignore them. What the hell? Someone is talking to you. You're really going to sit there and ignore them? Do you think the person is even going to stand there if you are ignoring them? No, they will walk the fuck out. So that was edited. Okay, I don't even care. And people are dumb as hell saying Portia's rude. No, it was editing. Okay? Alright? Jeez. You know, and then, you know, Claudia just basically says, you know, oh, so am I being ignored because I'm friends with Kenya? It's not all about Kenya, okay? Did Bravo tell you to say this shit? Because clearly I know Portia wasn't ignoring her. I don't give a damn. Anyway, moving on. The Tuckers have a team meeting, okay? Candy and Papa Bear Tucker, okay? And you know what? They just basically say it how it is, okay? Things are not being done, alright? And you know, Candy feels as though Don won isn't given his all, okay? He has all the potential to be the best manager ever. However, she feels as though he is just not, you know, he's not doing much, okay? However, Don Juan doesn't agree at all, which he wouldn't, obviously, because Don Juan is a prima donna, okay? Look, okay, I understand that you've been riding for Candy for so long, but he is disrespectful. He's too damn rude, okay? You don't talk to your boss like that. I'm just saying, alright? So then Don Juan thinks that all of this is coming from Todd, okay? He feels as though Todd has been feeding this into Candy's head because Candy clearly doesn't have a brain, okay? And he feels as though that Todd is behind all of this. Alright, now, I just think her team don't respect her, okay? Like I said, they see her as a friend, and they don't give her the respect as a boss. I really don't, because I feel as though, like, you wouldn't be sitting there acting like this to your boss, that is paying you, that you respect, okay? So that's where I think this whole thing comes from. It's not about Todd saying shit, or no. They don't respect her like that. That's what it is, and Candy is responsible for that. Moving on, Cynthia meets up with her new best friends, Kenya, and she meets up with Claudia, okay? They go shoe shopping. Apparently, Claudia has struggle toes. Well done for admitting that, though. Okay, not many women will. Okay, you got struggle toes. Okay, well done. Anyway, they bring up Portia, okay? And you know what? Cynthia says that, her and Portia just were bumping heads. And, she's Nini's new best friend. And I'm just sitting here thinking, is there not going to be an episode where you won't mention Nini's name? Because you are so bitter about her being Nini's new BFF, okay? We know you still want to be her BFF, okay? But you're trying to prove a point. You trying to act stank and act like you are above all this shit for no reason. Why are you fronting? I don't know, but I'm so sick of Cynthia, okay? She behaved herself this episode, but she still tried it. Like, just stop, okay? Alright? Claudia says, ever since Cynthia's event, she feels as though because she went to it, Portia's given her, some cold behavior. I don't really think that's it. I don't know. I really don't know, and, they just basically agreed to give Portia another chance. Or, Claudia agrees to give Portia another chance. Whatever. Moving on. Candy takes Phaedra to a spa day. I love their friendship, okay? Phaedra looks stressed the fuck out. She looks so stressed. She's losing weight, though. Okay, we can all stand to be stressed. We need to be stressed. I need to be stressed, okay? This jumper makes me look fat, too, but I ain't that big. Shit. Anyway, okay? Should I get me an ex-convict boyfriend and get stressed too? I'm joking. That's not funny. Anyway, alright? So Nini and Portia come through too. And I see where the show is going, okay? It's basically Nini, Portia, Candy, and Phaedra. They are the friends. They are the group. And then we have Kenya, Cynthia, and Claudia, okay? It's just, it's funny because if Nini was still on good terms with Cynthia, we know where she would be. She would be with the others, okay? But you know what? I'm actually liking Nini with them. Okay, so I really don't give a damn. Alright? Candy has started drinking, okay? We all know she stopped drinking. It's not even important. Let me move on, okay? And Portia talks about her meeting with Cynthia. Says, Cynthia tried to give her the robot read, okay? And that's when you are trying to read someone when you're trying to remember what the fuck someone has told you to say, You're like, bitch, you were Nini's best friend. What did Peter say? You have a long chin. Ooh, that was a good one. I don't like you. No, I'm joking. Alright, robot reads. Okay, robot read. That fits her perfectly, okay? And Candy then asked Nini what her issue with Cynthia is. And Nini basically feels as though she was blindsided, okay? She didn't see this coming out from nowhere. And it's weird to me because I do agree with Nini because Cynthia just came out of nowhere with all of this. However, Nini, you can't sit there and act like you weren't shady as fuck to Cynthia, okay? You made her cry a lot. Okay, so Nini can't be too innocent in all of this. However, she's over this bullshit now because she's tired of Cynthia trying to act like she's innocent in all of this. And I agree with that, okay? Alright. So then Nini also thinks that Apollo is lying about lying, okay? Only to spite Phaedra. Now, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if Apollo is lying to lie just to make, just to make Phaedra look bad. However, that motherfucker's an idiot. He's an idiot. He is dumb as shit, okay? I don't feel like he's smart enough to even lie, okay? No, I don't believe it. So, speaking of the devil, Apollo shows up at Peter's place, okay? And every time I see Apollo, I just can't help but think, when are you going to jail? When are you going to get locked the fuck up? Because I'm tired of seeing your fucking face. I'm tired of you. Can lock him up, please. Don't be in next week's episode, because he is just doing nothing for this show, okay? Alright? Because every time he wants to talk, he just badmouths Phaedra all the time, and I'm sick of it, okay? You are not going to sit here and act like the victim. You're the one that put your family in jeopardy. You're the one that did all this shit, and you really want to sit here and say Phaedra's the bad person because she didn't support you. Shut the fuck up. I wouldn't support you too, okay? And Peter, you know, tries to speak some sense to him. Meanwhile, he just continues to play, you know, the victim, and I'm sick of him, alright? He feels abandoned. This guy makes me so sick. He makes me so sick, okay? And he wonders why Phaedra isn't down anymore. Why the fuck would she be down with your dumb ass? Look at what you did. Shut up. Moving on. Portia meets up with Claudia, okay? And they're just trying to be cordial. She feels as though Portia has a problem, okay? I mean, I really don't feel as though Portia does have a problem, okay? They're trying to make a big situation out of nothing, to be honest, okay? Portia doesn't feel that way. Claudia then brings up Kenya and feels as though Kenya and Portia should be civil with each other. Claudia, it's none of your business, okay? Stop being a peacemaker. If they don't want to be friends, they don't want to be friends. Not everybody has to be friends, okay? Shush! Okay? Alright? Portia just diverts the whole conversation because she just isn't here for it. Moving on, alright? Don Juan feels as though Todd is getting into Candy's ears, okay? Alright? And he is not happy about anything, alright? What? Oh, okay, so then he says he missed his mother's birthday. He missed his mother's wedding just to go to Candy's wedding and just to go to Candy's birthday. Nobody told you to do that. I'm just saying, okay? Everyone knows your mother comes first. You decided to do that. Candy didn't put a gun to your head and say you have to be here, alright? I'm just saying, everyone has a choice in this life. You made your choice, so... Alright. Yeah? Moving on. What else? I feel as though he's using Candy being married as an excuse, okay? He's just not feeling Todd, and it's disrespectful. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how Candy is, she's still your boss. You are not going to talk about her and her marriage like that, because you ain't got a right to do so, okay? Ooh. Candy needs to start speaking up for herself. It's funny though, because when Candy reaches her breaking point, she goes crazy, okay? She goes crazy. Remember last season, okay? So they need to stop testing her because she will lose it again, alright? She will lose it, alright? But then, you know, Todd calls up on Don just to, you know, lightly set him straight, okay? To let him know, like, you know, there's no problem. And Don feels as though Todd hasn't brought shit to the table, okay? Candy's team, prior to Todd, came up with bedroom candy, came up with candy-coated nights, all this shit, okay? They did all of this, and I give them credit for that, because they did a lot of stuff, okay? It actually did seem as though Candy was very much productive before she met Todd, okay? Because now, you know, what has Todd really done? But, you know, I mean, he's done something, okay? So, alright? Anyway, what else? I'm running out of time. They both brought up good points, okay? But yes, Don agrees that, you know, yes, he knows his role. He's the manager and he's going to step up, okay? But yeah, he still needs to be respected. Moving on. Kickboxing class with Kenya and Candy, okay? Candy just wants to make things right. Alright, so, you know, Candy tells the truth, says that, you know, she really did feel as though Kenya was lying. And then, you know, she apologizes, okay? Well done, Candy. I mean, did she really deserve the apology? No, because she still ain't apologized for being a bitch, okay? No, she has not, alright? So then she says, you know, Nene and Portia still think that you're lying though, okay? And then Kenya starts crying. She is tired of people still not believing her, okay? She is trying to clear her name. And I just feel as though they are trying to really throw a pity party for Kenya this season, okay? Last 2 seasons, Kenya was acting like she didn't give a shit about what anyone thought. So now you want us to really feel sorry for her? I don't feel sorry for her. Once you depict a certain way, that's how I'm going to see you as, okay? Once you portray yourself a certain way, that's how I'm going to see you as. Don't try and redeem yourself now, okay? I'm sick of her trying to act like she ain't done shit. What have I done? What haven't you done? You have been rude to everyone. You have been snidey. You have been snaky. You have been shady, okay? You have acted inappropriately with a married man, okay? Despite his fucking lie. You could have sat there and ignored Apollo. You didn't do that, okay? So don't sit here and try and act like we should feel sorry for you. Then she goes to the bathroom and breaks down. I'm just not into none of this shit. And it's like, I don't want people to think I went into this disliking Kenya. I actually liked Kenya. Kenya made me dislike her, okay? Alright? Yes? What else? Well, guys, she put herself into this own position. But guys, this is ItsASheThIngTV. Comment, like, and subscribe. I can't wait for next week's episode. All the ladies finally face off. Thank you for watching. Peace out.